Now, his fiance is Ukrainian. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
Like from Ukraine, like
Yes,
not born
yes.
and raised in the United States.
Yes.
So
yes.
English isn't her
she
first
speaks
language.
Stop that. She speaks five
I'm not. No,
languages. Smarter than both of us.
I'm not trying to be xenophobic here. Okay.
I don't think you are.
I'm trying to understand. No. My point is.
Does she use
My point
retirement?
is. There's a nuance to the term retirement. There's a nuance. He's not going to stop working altogether and cash out and be done. That's what retire means. He wouldn't retire from coaching either. Everybody would assume that he would leave the Rams, he would spend X number of years in broadcasting, and then come back and coach at some point down the road. That's not retirement, it's resignation. Sean Payton didn't retire, he resigned. So again, is she properly applying the word? Why not say he's not leaving? Why not say that? So I'm not ready. Because if you're Sean McVay, because I think this is all a leverage play that he has every right to engage in, Myles, every right to sit back and say, ESPN, you want me? Bring your best offer. Stan Kroenke, you want to keep me? Bring your best offer. And once ESPN offers him $15 million a year, whatever they're going to offer him, he takes it to Kroenke and he says, hey, it's just basically, 5 piles of the your toilet paper allotment. If you wipe your butt with $3 million, I think the math is accurate there. So that's what I thought he was setting up. So why would you give that up so quickly unless you really are on a multi-day bender?
I mean, yes, he is probably on a multi-day bender. I mean, okay, we're Mr. Semantics with I used to be a lawyer here, talking about retirement versus whatever. Veronica's probably had a few beverages of her own over the last few days. Is it? And the COO of the company just said that, he's going to be back. He's yelling on stage, we're going to run it back. I mean, if Stan Kroenke, who also used to pay my paycheck, he's going to give whatever Sean McVay wants in order for Sean McVay to stay there. So, it may not be a foregone conclusion. We will probably hear at some point that, yes, Sean McVay has signed some sort of contract extension, but, I'm not – retirement versus resign, the semantics here, they're sitting there and they're watching the mic'd up from the game. That's what and they've got wine. I don't really think that she's, thinking, oh my gosh, they're going to discuss this on Pro Football Talk tomorrow. I got to make sure I've got resign versus retire right.
Then maybe it's meaningless. That's my point. Maybe it all means nothing. That's my point. Let me say this. When Stan Kroenke was paying you, does he actually sign the checks? Do you have checks from him with his net? Does he sit down and write the checks, or does somebody else? Who signed your checks?
The treasurers do.
Is it Demoff?
Like any company, the treasurer handles that.
Do you have direct deposit, or do you actually get the checks?
I had direct deposit, as I do now. This is not about me. Can we get to what the segment's supposed to be?
Trying to rattle you a little bit. Aaron Donald tells TMZ, if we bring everybody back, I'm back. Well, if we bring everybody back, no team brings everybody back. So I don't know who he's referring to. Every football team changes. Well, but they still didn't bring everybody back. Somebody surely left. But I know I'm being too literal.
Somebody did probably leave, and don't call me Shirley.
They've got to bring. Well, and Airplane was out in 1980. Surely you haven't seen that. Von Miller is one of the key names that they need to bring back. OBJ. MDS made the point on Twitter yesterday or the day before, based upon the amount of time it took him to recover from his 2020 torn ACL, he won't be ready to play at all this year, at all in 2022. So I don't know. Do they bring him back? Do they not bring him back? I'm trying to figure out what he's eligible for under the CBA. There's a chance he gets nothing. And maybe the Rams just give him kind of a thank you contract. I don't know, but OBJ, Robert Woods, will he be back? He's got a big cap number. They have to create some cap space. I just, again, this is the afterglow of winning the Super Bowl and getting really, really sloppy-ass drunk yesterday. So I'm not putting any stock in any of this stuff, because once people get time and distance from the party atmosphere and reality sets in again, that's when decisions are going to be made. So what are the keys to the Rams running it back? Since we have a former Rams employee of the RBN with his what'd you call it? Head? The dog head logo. Dog head logo?
Yeah.
Is that what you call it? Dog head logo.
Yes. I'm not even revealing
state
secrets with things like that. I don't know.
it's important to be accurate with language when saying doghead as well. But what's your first pick of what they need to do to run it back?
Well, speaking of Aaron Donald, I think the first thing is you got to make him the highest paid defensive player in the league, right? I mean, whether this is a leverage play or not, with all the Donald retirement talk, there's something to the fact that he deserves a raise. I remember going to the Combine in 2017, and the Rams had just come off their 4-12 season. They just hired Sean McVay. And Les Snead even said, yeah, certainly Aaron Donald is a guy who deserves a raise. I think that after making him the highest paid defensive player for about 3 days before Khalil Mack, became that when he got traded to the Bears, that contract was there in 2018. He needs another new deal. And, if they decide that they can make him the highest paid defensive player in the league, I bet that he would come back in order to play for that kind of money.
Yeah, I agree with you, and it's in Stan Kroenke's court to take care of this and make sure that Aaron Donald's contract does indeed pay him accordingly for the next 3 years. Because after 3 years from now, yeah, he'll be a free agent or franchise tagged or whatever. He's not going to be physically who he is now, unless we're just completely wrong about him and he'll be the defensive tackle equivalent of Tom Brady and just keep going and going deep into his 30s. My pick is same as yours, just a different job. Pay Sean McVay, make him one of the highest paid coaches in the National Football League. And I'm still not ready to put a whole lot of stock in social media posts from his fiance. We don't even know that he authorized that. He may not have been sober enough to realize what she was doing. There's a broader play here, and it's about making sure that Sean McVay is taken care of financially, and that's what needs to happen. And that's one of the things, because obviously if you're changing head coaches, you're going to be far less likely to run it back, Myles.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree with you on that. And whether we can put stock into the social media posts or not, I think that needs to happen. And frankly, for a man like Stan Kroenke, who owns as much as he does and has as much wealth as he does, I don't think that that's going to be a problem for him, especially now that they've been able to put a Lombardi trophy on his desk. But the second thing that I would say the Rams have got to do in order to make it back and repeat is effectively replace Andrew Whitworth. And this may be something that's a little bit underrated. And, Andrew Whitworth has not officially come out and said that he's retired, but he basically said before the season that this is probably going to be his last ride. He's 40 years old. He just won a Super Bowl playing against the team that he played for I think 11 seasons before. There's not a better way for him to go out. So now what does that mean? Well, you've got to be able to have a left tackle that you trust. The Rams drafted Joseph Noteboom in 2018, and he's only started, I think, 10, 11, 12 games for the Rams since then. He played well, this postseason when Whitworth had to go out against Arizona. Noteboom started that game that they had against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, acquitted himself well there too, but he's a free agent now. So are you going to say, all right, Noteboom, I don't really know what your market is right now, but we'd like you to come back at a certain rate. And maybe if you play well, we extend you, we give you some more money. It's this, it's that. Or, do you look elsewhere? They don't really have the draft picks or the draft capital to look for a guy who's going to be there in the draft that could come in there and probably start right away, right? So it's going to be something in free agency, whether it's Noteboom, whether they get something done before he hits the market, or they look elsewhere. They've got to find out who's going to be their left tackle.
Next thing they have to do, from my perspective, is address the Robert Woods situation. That's the elephant in the room contractually for them. He's coming off of the torn ACL that was suffered the day that OBJ signed his contract. He's got a salary of $10 million in 2022, cap number of $15.7 million. Cooper Kupp has become the clear number one guy. Remember, there were a couple of years where it was 1A and 1B, and at one point it was Woods 1A and Kupp 1B. Then it flipped to Kupp 1A. Now it's clear that Kupp is number one, Woods is number two. They need Woods if OBJ is not going to be healthy. So I think they just need to fix this, and they need to reach an agreement where he's comfortable with what he's making, they're comfortable paying it to him, they're comfortable with the cap charge, and they can keep both of those guys. That's going to be a key to getting back to the Super Bowl if they have a chance to do it.
Well, the interesting thing, too, is if Odell doesn't get hurt, would they have perhaps moved on from Robert Woods? Now, you basically don't really have that choice, especially because there is just not enough receiver depth that the Rams have. And so that would be the third thing that I would say is that you have to be able to increase your depth at receiver. And you've got guys like Skoranek in there who, frankly, just he can't catch, man. I mean, like, there were so many drops and so many plays in the games that he was in where he just was not a reliable target. You have to be able to have guys that you can count on to come in there if it just so happens that somebody gets hurt. Because I tend to think that if Odell Beckham Jr. does not get hurt in the second quarter, the Rams have a much easier time on offense in the second half. I'm not trying to take away anything from what the Bengals did defensively, because we saw what they did in the second half against teams earlier in the postseason. But Beckham was getting loose, man. And that when you have that second option there, that's not just Cooper Kupp, and you can rely on that target, it makes a significant difference. So Van Jefferson is emerging. I think he can probably take another step forward. But whether they have, Woods in there, and he's going to be coming off that knee, of course, but with it's Cooper Kupp, it's Van Jefferson, it can be Woods, but they've got to get another reliable target for Matthew Stafford.
I was going to go ultra hot take and say trade Jalen Ramsey, but I'm not ready to go that far.
Oh, my eyebrows
was he not a liability? Was he not a liability in the Super Bowl?
That's one of the best receivers in the game, man. I mean, like, he's going to get his, and it's not like, he wasn't torn down by his face mask.
I said I was going to. I said I was going to. I didn't say that I was.
I think
here's what I got to do. Sir, Ivy League guy, trying to break down my mechanisms for stirring up crap. Take care of OBJ, whatever that means. They got to take care of OBJ. They need to financially take care of him, even if he doesn't play at all in 2022, and otherwise is looking at getting nothing. If no one signs him, they want to wait for him to be healthy. He may be out all the year. They need to sign him to a contract that pays him $5 million minimum for 2022 and let him stay with the team, be around the team, work to get back. He made a sacrifice to come there. He was a difference maker down the stretch. He was the best offensive player on the field before the moment where the ACL went non-contact, and we went off yesterday on the fact that every field in the NFL isn't covered in grass, not field turf where your foot sticks and down you go. But I think that he was a blessing for that team, and they need to take care of him. If you want guys like Aaron Donald to feel good about coming back, even if OBJ doesn't play in 2022, you need to take care of him and have him around the team.
I totally agree with you on that, Mike. And I also think that it is a shame sometimes that we have these turf fields when everybody knows that players want it to be grass. I mean, for SoFi Stadium, where the playing surface is 90 feet below ground level, I can understand why it's a little bit impractical to have like a grass field come up from somewhere in the heavens. I don't know. But at the same time, like, there are ways of figuring that out. It's 2022, let's figure it out so that all these guys can be playing on grass, and it is a player safety issue. And so there are places where I just don't understand why in the world it's turf. Like, why in the world are the Patriots playing on turf? Right? Why did Carolina go from grass to turf? Like, I understand that these stadiums are used in a multi-purpose way, but, and I think you said this yesterday, Mike, like these men are part of your investment, and keeping them healthy should also be part of your investment. So playing on grass should be a big thing in that. I think that's one of the great things that the Raiders did when they built their stadium, is they made sure that a grass surface was going to be a part of it.
Even if you have become completely desensitized to the humanity of your players, and I'm sure that plenty of owners, general managers, and coaches view those players as interchangeable parts that are constantly coming and going because they are. Even if you view them that way, as not human, as robots, as pieces in a bigger machine, if you have a machine with really expensive parts and you only have so much money per year to spend on those parts, you'd like to think you're going to engineer the machine in a way to keep those parts from breaking unnecessarily. That's what is astounding to me. And it's a classic case of being penny wise and pound foolish. I think teams are just cheap. They are cheap. And it's a shame. And hey, that stadium is the pinnacle of opulence. They could have found a way to put a grass field in there if they wanted to. Somebody emailed me yesterday, well, there's issues with waters with water in there's a lake outside of the state. There's a freaking lake. I think they'd find enough water to water the grass.
The water would not be
Stadium.
the problem, right? The water would not be the problem. It's like, how do you put the grass under the field? Like, do you have like some sort of underground greenhouse that you roll the field in and out of, and like have to dig some sort of alcove tunnel in order to make that happen? I think, I'm not an engineer, so I don't really know how that works, or a biologist. But
that thing is an architectural and engineering marvel. They would have figured it out if they really wanted to. By the way, before we close the books on the Rams, there was an announcement today from Matthew and Kelly Stafford that they'll be covering the medical expenses of Kelly Smiley. She's the photographer that plummeted from the stage yesterday, prompting the frat Stafford references on Twitter and look, I know exactly what Matthew Stafford was doing in that moment, because I will admit that at least once or twice in my life, I have done that before. There's been some sort of calamity that I was in no mood to be involved with, so I just walked the other way. I'll admit it, because it helps me prove that, yes, indeed, that's what he was doing. I'm out of here. I'm out of here. He saw it happen. He said, whoop, I'm out of here. Not my problem. I'm gone. That's exactly what he was doing.
It probably was, but I was told by someone at the rally, and if you look at the video, you can tell that he's going to another photographer. And what he said, apparently, is, hey, somebody just fell. I have no idea what to do. And in that situation where we can see that Stafford was as hammered as he was, like, this is not a good look by any means. But if you look right there, he takes a sip of water, and then he's going toward the Rams team photographer. So he's not really justifying
I'll trust your source. I'll trust your source. If he was indeed going for help, if he was going for help, I can live with that. The video suggests otherwise. That it was I'm out of here. Sorry, I'm out of here. Not my issue. But, and this is where...
He also was in no position to really help, based on how much,
That's
we
true.
know he was drinking.
He would have fallen off the stage as well. This is where I hope that when it's time to decide who gets in and who gets excluded from the great beyond, that it's on an average with your spouse, because he married somebody who brings up the average, as did I. So he's probably like me, thinking it's a package deal when it's time to have your final judgment from St. Peter.
You better hope so. I guess I got to find somebody like that too, because right now, man, I'm all alone, and it probably isn't great. Yeah,
trust me. There's a very good chance that she's going to be waving to me. See, my hope is that she is so good that it secures a pass, because how could it truly be heaven for her if she's deprived of the presence? See, that's I don't know.
How was her week last week when you were in Los Angeles? Because that could tell you something.
I'm trying everything I can. Hey, between her and my son, they convinced me to stay. I was ready to leave. After I went to the NFL Experience on Sunday and saw those people there with the masks, performing the role of joust catchers and not actually being over their faces. I was ready to go, and they both separately worked on me to stay because they wanted me to get COVID and die, but because I have a good life insurance policy. But nevertheless, because of them, I.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.